who've been to Harlem way more times than me, and I live right here in New York City, right? Because I love Brooklyn. This is where I was born and raised. I went to all my schooling here. The only time I left Brooklyn was when I went away to college, right? So I guess, just growing up, the ups and downs, and believe it or not, a lot of time the downs, make you appreciate Brooklyn too. Like, I grew up in the 90s, she was on live, she can attest. I grew up in the 90s, and it was rough, right? As far as, trying to fit in, and then, the whole peer pressure with the gangs and the crews or whatever. So there's a lot of times I tried to fit in that circle, and I wasn't really welcome, so I was kind of shunned. Mm-hmm. So yes, it has a lot of bad days, but it makes you appreciate it, because now when you look back and talk about it, and like me, you grew up and have kids of your own, now you know where to steer them. Mind over matter is magic. I do magic. Mind over matter is magic. I do magic. Mind over matter is magic. I do magic. You think the mind over matter is magic. I do magic.
Welcome to Mind Over Matter, baby. I'm your host, DEJA, and to the right of me, I have...
Hi everybody, I'm Sheldon Wallace. I am Deja's cousin.
Yes, sir. This is my cousin, Sheldon. He's more like the older cousin, but like he's cool, so he like fits in just perfectly fine,
There you go.
Like he won't tell your parents anything. But yeah, that's Sheldon. You can follow him on, what's your Instagram?
Oh boy, my Instagram is Bigger Valley Shelly.
Yeah.
Right?
Bigger Valley Shelly.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Max B fan. You know Max B?
But I always hear people say Free Max B, but I never get the reference. I don't even know how he looks.
Oh wow. Well, unfortunately, Max B is incarcerated.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But he started the whole how can I say, auto-tune type singing thing here on the East Coast.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and he was a part of Jim Jones's crew, Bird Gang. So this was like in...
I know Jim Jones,
yeah.
But I thought he was with Dipset.
Yeah, but Jim Jones branched off and formed his own group called Bird Gang.
Okay,
and,
I need to check that out.
Yeah, and Max B was his one of his main guys, and pretty much took Bird Gang to another level.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So he's very, very talented. So that's why I get the name, because his name is Max Bigavelli. Mm-hmm. So that's why I got the name Bigavelli Shelly, because I'm a huge Max B fan.
Okay, so if you know, you know. Shout out to all my Max B fans out there. Yeah, so on today's episode, I want to just talk about being from Brooklyn. I feel like you're the mascot for Brooklyn. When I think of Brooklyn, I think of Sheldon.
Wow, look at that.
Like, out of everybody I know, Sheldon, you go the hardest for Brooklyn.
Wow.
I just want to talk about, like, where did that come from? Like, that Brooklyn love.
Okay, well, let me tell you. Right?
Like, even look at his shirt, guys. Like, I'm not lying. This guy goes hard for Brooklyn.
And to be honest, I didn't wear the shirt because it says Brooklyn, because the color matched my sneakers. So I was like, okay, cool. But yes, I am born and raised in Brooklyn. Obviously, Jamaican parents, of course, right? Just like you. But yeah, I mean, I think the Brooklyn love comes from just being how can I say? New York City is very territorial, meaning that wherever you are, that's where you are. That's where you rep. That's where you go hard for. That's where you love. Sometimes that's where you hate, but it is you.
Right.
Right? Let me give an example. Harlem. Harlem is in New York. I live in New York City, right? I've been to Harlem probably, 3 times in my entire life. I know people outside of Harlem who've been to Harlem way more times than me, and I live right here in New York City. right? Because I love Brooklyn. This is where I was born and raised. I went to all my schooling here. The only time I left Brooklyn was when I went away to college, right? So I guess, just growing up, the ups and downs, and believe it or not, a lot of time the downs, make you appreciate Brooklyn too. Like, I grew up in the 90s, she was on live, she can attest. I grew up in the 90s, and it was rough, right? As far as, trying to fit in, and then, the whole peer pressure with the gangs and the crews or whatever. So there's a lot of times I tried to fit in that circle and I wasn't really welcome, so I was kind of shunned. So yes, it has a lot of bad days, but it makes you appreciate it, because now when you look back and talk about it, and like me, you grew up and have kids of your own, now you know where to steer them or how to steer them. And I thank my upbringing for that, growing up in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I love Brooklyn too. Shout out to everybody from Brooklyn. Yeah. Why did you move to Queens then? If you love Brooklyn so much.
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm married. Yeah. Right? 2 weeks ago we'll make 10 years of marriage.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. But my lovely wife, she is though she's from, the islands, she's from Queens, right? And Brooklyn has more of a city vibe. Queens have more of a, Queens have the nice houses in the backyards.
Like suburban, yeah.
Exactly. Though it's still New York City, Queens is a lot more, homely feel.
Right,
so
yeah.
My first choice, of course, is, where I was born. I was like, hey, babe, why not look at a spot in Brooklyn? She was like, nah, if we're trying to raise a family, we got to do Queens.
I like that.
Yeah, happy wife.
Because I feel like, I don't know if you heard this song. It's like, don't wear sunscreen, class of 99. And then in the song, it goes like, move out of California before it makes you too soft. Move out of New York before it makes you too hard. Like, do you think, like, in a way, the city kind of makes you have to, like, carry this kind of, toughness about you? It's kind of like unhealthy in a way.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say unhealthy. Let me explain to you why, right? Okay, so my children right now, I have 3 boys. I believe they're growing up very sheltered, meaning that, when it's time, and there's gonna come a time where we're gonna push them out there into the world to kind of figure it out. They're not going to know how to figure it out, so easily, because they've grown up so very sheltered.
Right.
So the way how I grew up is, though I wasn't, a bad gang member, whatever, we grew up in the streets. And some of your other cousins, who I grew up with, Kim and Dana and Dexter and Chanel, and, we all grew up in the streets, playing in the streets, but we weren't, a part of anything bad, but we grew up in the streets. But growing up in the streets, you encounter a lot of kids, people, negative energy or whatever. So it kind of builds a toughness in you, where, you had no choice, but to be tough. You had no choice but to have street smarts, right? You have no choice, but to sort of figure it out amongst your peers, because you don't want to be that soft one, that sheep, because, once that happens, then it's pretty much on.
Yeah, they're eating you up.
Oh, yes. So we couldn't do that. Even if you were that by nature, you still had to put on a front.
Right.
Right? And I know by nature I wasn't a tough guy, so yes, believe it or not, yes, I put on a lot of, tough guy front. It helped me survive, in the streets. I was never jumped or picked on or bullied or any of that.
Do you think your kids now are more sheltered because of like the COVID era, like these kids being brought up in the COVID era? I don't really think it's because like, I feel like a lot of kids are growing up sheltered and a lot of kids are inside more.
Well, let me tell you this, Deja. Okay, so COVID obviously is kind of like a new, well, it's not kind of, it is a new phenomenon. It started in 2019. It took over 2020, and we're now still in it. Prior to that, I think the advent of technology is what causes kids to be, very sheltered, very to themselves, very isolated, right? So let's say you are, what's the word? Some sort of social outcast, right? But you have an iPhone, you have a Samsung or whatever. You could literally go on your phone, find your interest, find your group, and, converse with your people, be into your own space. Right? Now, you can't do that when you're outside. When you're outside, you have to interact, right? When you're pretty much in school, you have to really interact. But with the advent of technology, I can play video games with somebody in Italy, in China, in Germany, in Africa, or whatever. I can just go on my phone and just keep to my own self, and I don't have to interact with anybody. So I'm sheltered in a sense from interacting with society, like physically. So my kids, and like my oldest son, he's into video games, and now he's getting my other son into video games, right? So every now and then, it worries me, so I try to break them out of that by saying, hey, let's go on to the basketball court, because that's what I used to do, when I was younger. Go down to the basketball court and just play with the guys, get cursed out, sometime a fight would almost break out. But then again, with my kids, I'm always there, so it's never going to get crazy. Growing up, I was doing it by myself. My older brother, he was there sometimes, I wasn't there, but a lot of times I had to fend for myself.
Right.
Right? So yes, growing up in New York City, you have to have some sort of toughness, or else you're going to get eaten alive.
Exactly.
So we keep it right here.
Believe it or not, I was kind of brought up in these streets too.
And that's the thing, like when people say we was raised in the streets, it doesn't mean that we were doing illegal activity.
Exactly, yeah.
But we were literally, playing outside in the streets.
Exactly.
Kim is on, ask Kim, she'll tell you.
Yeah, I vividly remember like kids playing double dutch in the street, summertime, busting the fire hydrant. Really fun times, really fun times. Yeah. Like, kids were always outside, like, all the time. Like, I used to cry to go outside. But that kind of what brought me up, like, very athletic, coming from, like, like, my brother he treated me like a little boy. And that's probably why, like, I love sports so much now. Like, I love basketball and things of that sort. Yeah. Like, I grew up playing basketball with a bunch of boys, like, Yeah. But,
I want to touch on something real quick about the original question you asked me about as far as my love for
Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn, right? So my dad, right, and obviously your dad, being brothers, they grew up in Jamaica, in the parish of St. Thomas, in a district called Funtil, which you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So I've always heard my dad growing up bigging up, where he's from.
Yeah.
Bigging up Funtil, Sheldon, about Funtil and Davis Mountain and, St. Thomas and go down to Marant Bay. And so I've always heard that, from my dad. My mom, she's from the parish of St. Mary in the city of Port Maria in a district called Haywoodall. Like, she would touch on it every now and then, but never like my dad, how he would big up where he's from. So I personally believe that I get some of that from my dad, as far as, him always bigging up where he's from every opportunity he gets. So me being from, the East Flatbush section of Brooklyn, the 50s to be exact, every chance I get, I rep it, I big it up, because, I believe that's coming directly from him.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I definitely see that correlation, because, like, my parents, like, every Jamaican is very prideful. Even if they don't even live in Jamaica, they still carry that pride. And it's so strong. And I feel like that kind of, like, trickles down to the kids in a way. And then they usually come to, like, cities, inner cities. That's where immigrants usually go. Okay. And then the kid usually, like, kind of get that. They kind of, what's it called? They kind of, like, take that pride that the parent once had and then put that into where they're from. And then they're also prideful. Like, I'm very prideful to be a Jamaican, but I wasn't born there. Yeah. And then I'm prideful that I'm from Brooklyn as well. So it's just, like, I guess, ingrained in us, Yeah.
And, well, if you understand the history of Jamaica, Jamaica has a very rich history. So it's something to be very prideful of, right? Jamaicans tend to stand out, right? People of our culture, our music, they love our food, our delicacy, our customs. They love our bravado. It's just,
what else? Everything.
I mean,
our accents.
Our accents. The most latest thing now is our athletics. We can say we have the fastest men ever, to touch the face of the earth. The women currently are the fastest. Period, right? The women are the fastest. facts in the world.
Yeah.
Right? So, when people say Jamaicans are too much, they're too bravado, I mean, it's coming from somewhere. It's not like empty noise. You see what I'm saying? There's a reason, why we, thump our chest. You see what I'm saying? Because, we
can back it up. It's not like we're just saying, "Oh, we're the best, we're the best, we're the best." Yeah, it's like we have
why we're the best,
history and stuff to pull up on why.
And listen, every other nation, group of people, they have something that they're prideful of, and they put it out there. So it's okay if we are prideful of the things that make us who we are to put it out there because everybody else does it. It's just natural to do that. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but a lot of the time people look at it as arrogance or like we're too like loud and like obnoxious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, I would say that's their insecurity seeping out because trust me, if they had it like us, they would have put it on the forefront as well.
Yeah,
they would have been beating their chest as well.
Yeah,
if they were, if they had everything that we had going on. So,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. But shout out to all the Caribbeans.
Oh yeah. Big up all the Caribbean nations.
Yeah.
There you go.
But why doesn't Queens got a NBA team?
Okay. So let me tell you this.
And why isn't Queens as prideful as Brooklyn?
I'm gonna tell you right now. Right? There's a reason for that. This thing keeps getting dull and going off. Oh, my cousin is on. All right. What's up, Jay? Okay. So. Now, New York City consists of 5 boroughs, right? Every borough has a professional sports team, right? Except for Staten Island, but Staten Island has a baseball team, what do you call it? A AAA baseball team called the Staten Island Yankees, right? So they're like a developmental, yes.
What?
But think about it. So Manhattan has the the New York Knicks, right? That plays in Midtown Manhattan,
right? Yeah,
at Madison Square Garden, right? Brooklyn now has the Brooklyn Nets, so the borough of Brooklyn has a team, right? The Bronx have the New York Yankees, right? So the borough of the Bronx has a professional team, and last but not least, Queens, right, has the New York Mets.
Oh yeah, they do. I forgot.
They play in Flushing, right? So so the Mets, the Mets have a team as well, right? But it's funny. My cousin Jay's on, and we talk about this stuff all the time, right? So Queens has always gotten a bad rap, because of when hip hop started. It was really the Bronx, that started everything, and that trickled down to Uptown or Harlem, right? And then it went to Brooklyn, right? And that's where hip hop was. The core of hip hop was. Queens came on late onto the scene, but Queens had a lot of talent. But in I think it was the early '80s, there was some sort of clash between one of the top dogs in the Bronx, which is KRS-One. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I met him.
You met KRS-One?
Yeah, I got a picture. Here. I'm so serious.
Okay. Wow, look at you. Right? I never met him before, but I know he's a legend. Right?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's good.
Big in the 80s or whatever.
Whoop, whoop. It's the sound of the police.
Exactly. Yeah, and he has Jamaican roots as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
KRS-One. But yeah, he was the top dog in the Bronx, and he had another top dog in Queens that was coming up named MC Shan, who was from a very, very popular housing project.
That's Sham with an M?
Shan with an N.
Okay.
MC Shan. Very popular hip-hop artist coming up from the Queensbridge projects, in Queens, which is, one of the most historic projects as far as the hip-hop talent that came out there. Nas came from there.
Right.
Roxanne, Shantae, Yeah, but they had some sort of MC battle, and what's his name? KRS-One pretty much dismantled, just destroyed MC Shan, but he didn't finish there. He said all of Queens, everything that comes out of Queens is garbage. Queens is this, and they had a whole New York City saying, yes, big up the Bronx, big up, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Uptown, but Queens always got the, so
yeah, the short end of the stick.
Exactly. But Queens, Queens is back on top. With 50 Cent and Nas and everybody who's came out of Queens or whatever. Yeah. But you talk to Nicki Minaj, right? You talk to most Queens hip hop artists, they're going to point out to that incident where KRS-One pretty much dismantled not only Shan, and Queensbridge, but all the whole borough of Queens. They're going to point to that and say, okay, we were left for dead. Give us our respect.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So I basically met him when I went to the Universal Hip Hop Museum. You ever went there? Or you ever heard of it?
Is that in Atlanta?
No, it's here.
The Hip Hop Museum in New York City? Okay.
It's pretty new. They're building a new building that's going to be open in 2022. It's supposed to be the biggest virtual museum in the world.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that's where I met KRS-One at. But that's, like, very pivotal.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about the Trap Museum in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. But that's, like, for Instagram. I feel like the Hip Hop Museum, like, you'll actually learn.
Where exactly is the Hip Hop Museum? Because I think I heard of it,
It's in the Bronx.
Oh, it's in the... Okay, I did hear about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that's nice. In the Bronx.
But shout out to them, because they're doing a lot for the culture,
There you go.
Yeah. Wow. So basically, you said Queens don't need a basketball team. That's your answer in a nutshell.
Well, it's not, but when we're talking about sports, and as far as New York City, the most populous city in the whole entire country, with 8 million people going on to 9 million people, every team in New York, well, New York City has 2 of every team in every sport. That's what I meant to say. So the MLB have the Yankees and the Mets, right? Major League Baseball.
Okay,
yes.
All right. So
the NFL has the Giants and the Jets. Mm-hmm. Right? The NHL actually has 3 teams if you want to consider Jersey, but the NHL has the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders, who now play in Hempstead, and the New Jersey Devils, right? So there's 3 teams in the NHL, the National Hockey League. And of course, in the NBA is 2 teams, right? So the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks.
But that makes sense, like the LA Clippers and the LA Lakers.
Yeah, so the big cities like New York, LA, Chicago, those are the biggest cities in the country.
Yeah.
Right? New York and LA, all those 2 cities have 2 of every sports teams, right? So in LA, the football is the Rams, and now the LA Chargers, the Lakers and the Clippers.
Right.
In baseball, it's the Dodgers and the Anaheim Angels. You see what I'm saying? So the big cities, they get to have 2 teams because the cities is just so popular.
Yeah.
So populous.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but I don't know why Toronto only has 1. Just, I guess.
Toronto's a big city. Toronto's a poppin' city. I love Toronto. I've been to Toronto one time. A couple of years ago, but Toronto's a real fun. They say it's like New York City, and it really is.
Yeah, it's like a smaller, bite-sized version of it.
Yeah, but if Toronto wasn't so cold, I'd really, think about, moving there. Toronto's really that,
Really?
It's a real fun city. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do much there.
You
went? It was kind of boring. Yeah.
When did you go?
It was so boring. I'm not gonna lie.
Was it? You probably
I went with my parents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We went for
I went in the summer. It was summertime.
They have Carnival in Toronto, right?
Oh yeah, Caravana.
You went for Caravana in
That's
2015.
Fun.
Yeah,
that's fun. I want to go to Caravana.
You should go.
It's like Labor Day, but
hopefully when this whole COVID thing, dissolves, and then we get back to normal, we could do the whole the Caravana thing.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, man. Caravana is fun.
Yeah. Do you have hoop dreams, Sheldon? Or do you want your kids to be hoopers or athletes?
Wow. You ask a lot of great questions, first of all.
Thanks.
Because all those things have been on my mind. So, I don't know if I told you this, but, I'm an avid sports fan. Not only watching, but growing up. I played literally everything. The only thing I didn't play was ice hockey.
He's saying avid, like, modestly. Like, this man goes hard for Brooklyn Nets. Like, he would.
Yes.
He could tell you anything about anybody, but yeah.
I love sports, right? But, my sports journey, took a turn because I was so distracted. Let me tell you why. I grew up in a very strict household. My dad's a pastor, right? So nothing, he wouldn't let me do anything, right? So even though I love sports, that was like my only outlet. When I got a little bit of freedom going away to college, and I can play sports, and when it was time to try out for certain teams or whatever, I was just, engulfed with actually being free for the first time. So I didn't go to any tryouts, any practices, because I just wanted to, party.
Yeah, that happened to me my first year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even checking for sports. I was just like, hey, this is the first time ever I'm 17, 18, no parents, later for sports, but which was a bad decision because, I could have followed through with my athletic dreams, But as I got older, I started to realize something about sports. I noticed some of my favorite sports heroes kept getting caught up in the legal system. So I'm like, okay, why is that? You have millions of dollars, right? You're well known, well renowned, very, successful on many scales. You make more in one game than people would make, for 10 years straight. For instance, my favorite player, Kyrie Irving, he makes, I think, something like $400,000, every game, something like that, something crazy like that.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, right? So why do my favorite athletes keep getting caught up in the legal system, right? So said to myself, okay, of course I want my kids to pursue, my athletic dreams that I never really achieved, but is it possible that if they do, they too themselves can get caught up in the legal system?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think, but this is the thing, Deja, right? A lot of times it's not really the athlete's fault, right? A lot of times, you could be just chilling, meet a nice young lady, right? Have a couple of drinks or whatever. You wake up the following morning and she said you raped her. Next thing you know, you have this rape accusation.
Yeah, like Kobe. That happened to Kobe.
Okay, yeah. Kobe said the interaction between him and the hotel worker was consensual. She wanted it. Though he was married, people can say he was wrong for that, but it was consensual.
Wow, yeah.
But now they had to go to court. He had this dark cloud of the rape allegations hovering over him, right? And I would say that took over for the entirety of his NBA career. He lost sponsorships, he lost money, and, he gained it back. But there was still something in the atmosphere about him being a rapist. And even in his death, Deja, these rape allegations kept coming back in his death. You see what I'm saying? And it's not only, rape allegations, it's drugs and, they have this term called sex, drugs, and rock and roll, meaning that, when you're a popular athlete or entertainer, all the stuff that's in the underworld comes at your footstep. And a lot of athletes get tempted, to partake in it. So I said to myself, like the conversation we was having off air, I know how strong I am. I know I could reject those things, but I'm not sure that my children, if put in the same predicament, would be as strong as me. And that's why I say it's possible they can get caught up.
Right.
Especially when you're a popular entertainer, sports star, whatever, and then these things you gets put in front of you. Now you have a decision to make. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna take that hit. You're gonna sniff that line of cocaine. You're gonna sleep with that woman. You're gonna fund this Ponzi scheme. You're gonna just so much ways you can get caught up, and just lose everything. So I'm like, okay, I think I want to usher my children into another profession, an attorney, a businessman, a doctor, a tech guru. You see what I'm saying? An accountant. Other than NBA hoop dreams, football dreams, or whatever. Because God forbid they get caught up, then I don't know how I would
All right, I understand what you're saying, but like I feel like there's also good athletes that don't get caught up. Yeah. You have Usain Bolt. Yeah. Like the most that ever came up about him was that he parties a lot. Like, whoa, that's not that crazy. You have athletes like LeBron James.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of athletes that don't get caught up. I feel like your kids, you raise them a certain way that they won't get caught up. Yeah. But I definitely think like it's important to expose them to other ways, like other interests, because a lot of the times, like black boys, all they are interested in is like sports music. Yeah. And occasional like fashion
and entertainment.
Entertainment.
But think about this, Deja, and I heard this from one of my mentors. His name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. So he said it is a lot easier to become a neurosurgeon than it is to become an NBA star. And people think that, okay, that's ridiculous. A neurosurgeon, they do surgery on the brain. How can that be easier than, balling out and, hooping or whatever? Let me tell you how. In the NBA currently, there are 450 active players in the NBA. Now, the NBA is the best basketball league in the world, right? So the best basketball players in the world all play in the NBA. 450. How many people are there on Earth? 7 billion. So you do the math. 450 out of 7 billion, that's your odds to become an NBA player. Whereas a doctor, millions. A lawyer, an attorney, millions. A neurosurgeon, a business tycoon or whatever, all these professions, millions. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot. The roads are a lot easier because if you want to go into sports, you got to be the best on top of the best.
It's true, yeah.
I had another cousin on my mom's side. He is very into soccer or football or whatever. So he said, "Listen, I didn't get to fulfill my soccer or football dreams, so I want my son to fulfill my football aspirations." So he purposely let his son be born in England because he felt, those English Premier Leagues
That's funny.
are the best, and he will go into some sort of farm system as a child and then become a professional at like 16, 17 and make, millions of euros out in England. So I was speaking to the other day, I said, "Hey man, how's your boy?" He said, "He's good, man. He's 9. I was like, "Oh, okay, he's 9 years old, good." So he pretty much doing good in soccer. He's like, "Come on, man. His soccer genes are shot." I'm like, "Come on, man. He's only 9. He should be." He said, No. They know, because he put him in some sort of camp. He said, they know, at like 5, 6, 7, whether you're going to be the greatest or not.
Oh, wow.
And they looked at him during, his practices or whatever, and they got rid of him at 9 years old, saying, "Nah, he ain't it."
Wow. They already knew it.
They already knew. You see what I'm saying? So, similar to the NBA, I'll let, Cam and Ethan and, obviously Chase, when he gets bigger, play basketball, play all type of sports. But as far as, being that hands-on, coach dad and be like, "Come on, you got to make it." I'm not even going to put that stress on them because, once again, it's a lot easier to become, a doctor than to become an NBA player. And then again, once you become like a doctor or professional, you could do that for years. The NBA has a short lifespan of like 3.5 years. Football even more or less because football is more violent. So what are you gonna do once you retire at like 25? You got your whole life to live ahead of you. Whereas if you're a doctor or an accountant or whatever, you are that for life. You see what I'm saying? And you are set for life. That's not necessarily the case when it comes to athletes.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of kids nowadays are being like babied and told, like, of course you should tell your kid you could do anything, but at the same time you have to be realistic? Like you said, for example, your friend, was it the 9-year-old that
my cousin,
your cousin, he probably told his kid like, "Oh, you can do whatever you want, you could do this, you could do that," and then a coach looks at him and then tells him, "No, you're out, like, no, just find something else." Do you think it's harder for kids to take that reality now, especially because they're seeing so much different people all the time, like, doing great, Yeah, it's going to be hard for a kid to swallow that pill, especially if that child, is passionate about that sport. Yeah.
Right? I believe if you're, if and the coach know that, this just ain't it, then...
You don't think there's a loophole around it? You think they should just accept it or try harder? Like...
Listen, that's a tricky one, right? Let me tell you why it's a tricky one. If you're passionate about something, you don't want to just be quick to tell them, "Nah, this ain't it. This ain't for you." Let me give you another example. I just heard recently Isaiah Thomas, right? He got a 10-day contract for the Los Angeles Lakers. Not the Isaiah Thomas, Hall of Famer from Detroit Pistons.
Talking Celtics.
Yeah, exactly.
Isaiah Thomas,
him.
yeah.
Okay, so
that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
He's in the NBA, and he's 5'8".
Yeah, he's short.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay, so he's shorter than you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he's in the NBA.
That's wild.
I'm pretty sure he's heard all his life, "Listen, IT, nah, you ain't gonna make it. Just give it those dreams."
Right.
You know, but he persevered. Right. And to me, he's a success story.
Of course,
I forgot what year. I think it was 2016 or 2017. He was, I think 2016, he was an MVP candidate because he was balling out. Now, it's because of injuries why, you know, he got, pushed out the league and was jumping from team to team. So really it was injuries. It had nothing to do with his ability and had nothing to do with his height. And the NBA is a league of trees.
And he's a sportscaster.
Who, IT?
Yeah, I see him sometimes on ESPN.
Okay, yeah. Every now and then they would invite, you know, former, present, past, or whatever, you know. Yeah, so once again, if somebody, you know, told him, listen, you're not going to get taller than this, you know, try something else, and he had done it, you know, he wouldn't be the IT that we've grown to, you know and love. Yeah. You know, so that's why I say is tricky. But then again, there's going to come a point where, let's say IT didn't have the ability. Then reality has to kick in. Like, okay, not only are you short, you know, you can't ball. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And you just can't ball. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's just that. And sometimes you don't, you know, it's easier if you tell them, then they get the rude awakening by going to camp or getting cut or getting, you know, it's a hard pill to swallow. So like I said, my kids, I'm going to say, listen, man, do something. You play sports, you know, for fun, for recreation. And hey, if you're great at it, hey, then, you know, we could, you know, see how far it takes you. Yeah. But I want you to focus on this, you know, the education, the books, you know, the profession that's going to have a longer shelf life.
Right, yeah.
You can be that all into your 60s, a doctor, whatever, attorney, all into your 60s. You can't be an NBA player all into your 60s. You see what I'm saying? Yeah,
So how do you feel about this statement? Where there's a will, there's a way. How do you feel about that?
I believe in it. I believe it's definitely true. Right? But I also do believe that you do have to be, you know, realistic about certain things. Listen, I'm an avid believer that anybody can do anything that they put their mind to. Just like you said, if there's a will, you know, there is a way. Right? So go for your dreams, right? And pursue your dreams, right? But make sure your dreams are realistic and attainable. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I know, let me give an example. I know I could never become the next king of England, right? Yeah, I'm not born in the royal family. No matter how much I try, no matter how much I try to aspire, I change my accent, I move there, you know, I try to get around, you know, a lot of these British diplomats. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Off rip. So if I aspire to be a king of England, that's not going to happen. Now, can I be a king of an African village in Rwanda if I marry a princess? Yeah.
In Rwanda.
Or Botswana or wherever. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. See, that's a more realistic. If I were to aspire to be that, that's a more realistic goal. You see what I'm saying? Yes. So once again, yes, if there's a will away, you know, maybe I can't be a king here, but I can be a king there. Right. Maybe I can't be a professional here, but I can get the same level of achievement, satisfaction, gratification in another sphere. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
Like, it's okay to, like, adjust your dreams to, like, make it more realistic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. Well, that was the end of another episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed. And thank you so much. This man has a whole family, and he came and made time to be on the podcast. Like, I really appreciate that. Yep. So this is the end of episode 34 of Mind Over Matter. Thank you for tuning in. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Yeah. That is Mind Over Matter, baby.
And follow me at Bigger Belly Shelly.
Bigger Belly Shelly.
Instagram. And also Flatbush Nets. I know the page is kind of down, but follow Flatbush Nets and Bigger Belly Shelly.
Get that page lit, guys. Flatbush Nets on Instagram. So, yeah. Peace. Logging off.
That's it?
Yay! Yeah, we're done.
That was fun, Deja.
That was.
Yeah.
Ugh, we could have went way longer, but.
Yeah.